Welcome to the Daily Buddha Dharma channel. On this journey to explore the mind and Buddhist philosophy, we can't overlook a core concept, Alaya consciousness. This is one of the most important foundations in Buddhist teachings, especially the consciousness-only school, Vijñanavada, where the mind is analyzed and explained in a profound way. But what is Alaya consciousness really? And why is it considered the root of all psychological phenomena, actions, and rebirth? Let's delve into this topic. First, definition and role of Alaya consciousness. In Buddhism, Alaya consciousness, also known as the storehouse consciousness, is a crucial concept in Buddhist philosophy, especially in the consciousness-only school, Vijñanavada. It's the place where all seeds, bijas, wholesome, unwholesome, and neutral, are stored due to our actions, thoughts, and words over many lifetimes. This definition emphasizes that Alaya consciousness is the foundation for forming psychological phenomena and the world around us. Alaya consciousness isn't just a simple storehouse. It also plays an important role in maintaining and operating the lives of sentient beings. The role of Alaya consciousness can be understood through three main aspects. It's a storehouse of karma and conditions. It's the origin of the cycle of rebirth. And it's the fundamental consciousness from which other consciousnesses arise. First, Alaya consciousness is seen as a storehouse of karma and conditions. In everyday life, every action, thought, and word we have leaves impressions, also known as karma, in Alaya consciousness. These impressions aren't lost, they're stored like seeds. When these seeds encounter the right conditions, they sprout and develop into specific phenomena in life. For example, if in the past we've done many good deeds, those wholesome seeds will bring good results in the future. Conversely, if we've done many bad deeds, those unwholesome seeds will bring painful consequences. Therefore, Alaya consciousness is not only a storage place, it's also the operating mechanism of karma, causing our actions in the past and present to interact and create specific experiences in life. Next, Alaya consciousness is seen as the origin of the cycle of rebirth. In Buddhist philosophy, the cycle of rebirth, samsara, is the continuous process of sentient beings being reborn from one life to another without end. This rebirth isn't a random process. It's determined by karmic force, karma, accumulated in Alaya consciousness. When a sentient being dies, Alaya consciousness carries all of this karmic force and creates a new life based on the accumulated karma. Thus, Alaya consciousness is the determining factor for the existence and nature of each lifetime, making the cycle of rebirth endless and without a stopping point. Understanding Alaya consciousness helps us realize that what we do in this life will have a profound effect on the next. And from that we need to live a more responsible and conscious life. Finally, Alaya consciousness is the fundamental consciousness from which other consciousnesses arise. In the Buddhist system of mind, there are 8 consciousnesses, in which Alaya consciousness is the 8th consciousness. From Alaya consciousness, other consciousnesses like eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness arise. These consciousnesses are influenced and act on each other, creating the psychological experiences and feelings of sentient beings. Thanks to Alaya consciousness, these experiences are not independent phenomena. They are a part of a continuous flow of consciousness that is always changing and interacting. Alaya consciousness, with its role as the foundation containing karma and conditions, as the origin of the cycle of rebirth, and as the fundamental consciousness from which other consciousnesses arise, plays a very important role in Buddhist philosophy. Understanding Alaya consciousness helps us become more aware of the nature of life, of the connection between our actions and the results they bring. From there, it guides us to live a more meaningful and responsible life. We need to be aware that every action, thought, and word we have leaves indelible impressions in Alaya consciousness, and those impressions will determine our future life. This encourages us to always live with a wholesome mind, practice good things, avoid bad deeds, so we can accumulate wholesome karma that will help make the present and future better. In addition, understanding Alaya consciousness also helps us recognize the importance of practice and transforming our mind. By practicing meditation, upholding precepts, and developing loving kindness, metta, we can reduce the unwholesome karmic seeds while nourishing and developing wholesome seeds. This process helps us gradually purify Alaya consciousness, making it cleaner and purer. When Alaya consciousness is completely purified, we will attain liberation, no longer bound by karmic force and afflictions, and from that end the cycle of birth and death, reaching the state of nirvana. In the modern context, understanding and practicing according to the principles of Alaya consciousness can also bring many practical benefits to our lives. We can apply these principles to managing emotions, improving relationships, and developing ourselves. For example, when we understand that every action and thought leaves impressions in Alaya consciousness, we will be more careful in how we behave, always trying to do good things and avoiding bad deeds. This not only helps us accumulate wholesome karma but also helps create a harmonious, happy, and meaningful life. Furthermore, practicing meditation and developing loving kindness also helps us manage stress, reduce anxiety, and improve our mental health. When our minds are pure and peaceful, we will be able to face the challenges and difficulties in life in a calm and wise way. This not only benefits ourselves but also helps create a positive and harmonious living environment for everyone around us. In summary, Alaya consciousness is an important concept in Buddhist philosophy that helps us better understand the nature of the mind and the connection between our actions and the results they bring. Understanding and practicing according to the principles of Alaya consciousness not only helps us live a more meaningful and responsible life but also brings many practical benefits to the present and future. We need to be aware that every action, thought, and word of ours leaves indelible impressions in Alaya consciousness, and those impressions will determine our future life. So always live with a wholesome mind, practice good things, avoid bad deeds, so we can accumulate wholesome karma that will help make the present and future better. Second, functions and roles of Alaya consciousness in Buddhism. Alaya consciousness, or the eighth consciousness, is a core concept in the consciousness-only, Vijñanavada, system of Buddhism. It's the place where all the psychological imprints and karmic forces of sentient beings are stored and is seen as the storehouse of the seeds of all actions, words, and thoughts from countless lifetimes. The functions and roles of Alaya consciousness are not just limited to storing, they also have a far-reaching impact on the operation of the mind and the lives of sentient beings through each lifetime. First of all, the main function of Alaya consciousness is to store and preserve the seeds of karma and afflictions. In Buddhist philosophy, each action, word, or thought leaves an imprint in the mind. These imprints are called seeds. And Alaya consciousness is the place where all those seeds are stored. These seeds aren't a tangible material. They're a form of potential containing the ability to generate psychological and physical phenomena in life. These seeds include wholesome, unwholesome, and neutral, neither wholesome nor unwholesome. When the right conditions are met, they will sprout and grow into specific phenomena. For example, if a person has done good deeds, those wholesome seeds will give rise to good results, such as happiness, health, or success. Conversely, if a person has done many bad deeds, the unwholesome seeds will lead to painful experiences, unhappiness, or difficulties. In addition, Alaya consciousness is also the place where afflictions, kleshas, are stored. Afflictions are negative psychological states, such as greed, hatred, delusion, pride, and doubt. These afflictions, even though they aren't always manifested outwardly, still exist in latent form in Alaya consciousness. When there are suitable conditions, they will arise, affecting the way sentient beings think, act, and interact with the world around them. This explains why people sometimes behave in a negative way without being aware of the underlying cause. Because the afflictions that have accumulated for a long time in Alaya consciousness are controlling their minds. Not only does it have the function of storing, Alaya consciousness also plays an important role in maintaining the continuity of lifetimes. In Buddhist conception, the cycle of birth and death, samsara, isn't a random process. It's governed by karma accumulated over many lifetimes. Alaya consciousness is the place where all those karmic forces are recorded and preserved. When a person dies, the other consciousnesses, such as eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness, also dissolve, but Alaya consciousness still exists. It carries all the karmic impressions into a new body and from that forms a new life. This process has no interruption because Alaya consciousness always maintains the continuity of the flow of karmic force, serving as a bridge between lifetimes. This is the operating mechanism of rebirth in the cycle of samsara. Alaya consciousness is not only the foundation for rebirth, it's also the factor that ensures the existence of the individual in the flow of rebirth. In each lifetime, sentient beings are not an unchanging entity. They're a continuous flow of psychological and physical phenomena. This flow is maintained by Alaya consciousness because it contains all the seeds and karmic forces from the past. For example, the habits, preferences, or innate abilities we have in this life are all the results of impressions stored in Alaya consciousness from previous lives. This shows that Alaya consciousness is not just a place for storing but also the source from which all psychological phenomena and behaviors in the present life arise. In addition to its role as a storehouse and in maintaining continuity, Alaya consciousness is also seen as the foundation from which other consciousnesses arise. In the Buddhist system of mind, the 8 consciousnesses are divided into 2 groups. The first 6 consciousnesses, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness, and the latter two consciousnesses, Manas consciousness and Alaya consciousness. Alaya consciousness is the basis for the activity of all other consciousnesses. Eye consciousness depends on Alaya consciousness to recognize shapes. Ear consciousness relies on it to hear sounds, and so on for the other consciousnesses. Without Alaya consciousness, these consciousnesses couldn't operate because they need a foundation to store and maintain the impressions of experience. In other words, Alaya consciousness is the source and foundation of the entire system of mind, making all the perception and sensation of sentient beings possible. What's noteworthy is that Alaya consciousness not only affects personal life but also contributes to the creation of the world around us. According to the view of the consciousness-only school, the world that we experience is not an objective reality that exists independently. It's the manifestation of the seeds stored in Alaya consciousness. For example, a person with many wholesome seeds in Alaya consciousness will tend to experience a harmonious and peaceful world. Conversely, a person with many unwholesome seeds will perceive the world as a place full of suffering and injustice. This shows that Alaya consciousness not only shapes the individual but also shapes how that individual experiences the world. Thus, the functions and roles of Alaya consciousness are extremely important in Buddhist philosophy. It's not only a place for storing karma and afflictions, it's also the foundation for rebirth, maintaining the continuity of lifetimes, and serving as the basis for all psychological and physical phenomena in life. Through understanding Alaya consciousness, we can become more aware of the nature of the mind and life, and from that know how to live a meaningful life, avoid creating more unwholesome karma, and gradually move toward liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Third, transformation and liberation of Alaya consciousness in Buddhism. In Buddhist philosophy, Alaya consciousness is not only seen as the place for storing all the imprints of karma and afflictions, it's also an object that needs to be transformed so that sentient beings can attain enlightenment and liberation. The transformation and liberation of Alaya consciousness is an important process on the path of practice, which has a profound meaning in purifying the mind and transcending the cycle of birth and death. The process of transforming Alaya consciousness begins with recognizing its nature and the influence of karmic forces that are governing the lives of sentient beings. Alaya consciousness contains all the karmic seeds, including wholesome, unwholesome, and neutral. These seeds are the cause of the psychological states, emotions, and actions of people in life. However, not all the seeds in Alaya consciousness bring suffering. Some wholesome seeds can help sentient beings live in peace and happiness. But if the unwholesome seeds and afflictions dominate, they will lead to suffering, unhappiness, and rebirth into lower realms. Therefore, the transformation of Alaya consciousness is the process of purifying the unwholesome karmic seeds while nourishing and developing the wholesome seeds. This transformation is done through practice, including meditation, upholding precepts, developing loving kindness, and practicing wisdom. In meditation, sentient beings learn to observe and recognize their psychological states and emotions, not letting them control their actions and thoughts. When an unwholesome karmic seed appears, for example, greed, anger, or delusion, the practitioner doesn't let it develop, rather, they use wisdom to transform it into positive states like loving kindness, patience, or understanding. An important aspect of transformation is changing how we react to circumstances and experiences in life. For example, instead of letting the mind be drawn along by unpleasant or painful feelings, the practitioner learns to face them calmly, not being bound by negative emotions. This helps minimize the accumulation of unwholesome karma into Alaya consciousness and gradually makes it cleaner. In addition to meditation, upholding precepts also plays an important role in the process of transforming Alaya consciousness. Upholding precepts not only helps prevent bad actions but is also a way to create wholesome seeds in the mind. When a person lives honestly, avoids killing, stealing, lying, or other harmful actions, they are sowing wholesome seeds in Alaya consciousness while preventing the arising of unwholesome seeds. Developing loving kindness and wisdom is an indispensable part of transforming Alaya consciousness. Loving kindness helps sentient beings expand their love not only for themselves but also for everyone and all beings. When loving kindness is developed, the seeds of anger, hatred, or selfishness will gradually be eliminated. Wisdom, on the other hand, helps sentient beings more clearly recognize the impermanent nature and lack of inherent self of phenomena. From that, they will no longer cling to or be bound by desires and afflictions. The ultimate goal of transforming Alaya consciousness is to attain complete liberation. Liberation isn't just simply escaping a certain state of suffering, it's the cessation of the entire cycle of birth and death. In the state of liberation, Alaya consciousness is completely purified, without any trace of karmic force or afflictions. At that point, sentient beings are no longer controlled by karmic seeds, no longer reborn into the realms of samsara, and attain the state of nirvana. In the state of nirvana, Alaya consciousness no longer operates as a storehouse consciousness because all the karmic seeds have been completely eliminated. There is no longer the arising of psychological states. There is no longer clinging to any phenomenon. The mind becomes completely pure and self-possessed. This is the state of enlightenment, where there is no longer a distinction between subject and object, between wholesome and unwholesome, or between birth and death. To achieve this liberation, practitioners need to constantly cultivate and strive on the path of the Dharma. This process not only requires persistence but also a deep understanding of the nature of the mind and dharmas. For example, a person cannot be liberated if they are still clinging to the I, because this clinging is the origin of all afflictions and suffering. When they realize that the I is just a temporary collection of physical and psychological elements, they will gradually let go of clinging and direct their mind toward a state of true freedom. Liberating Alaya consciousness is also a journey beyond ignorance, or the lack of understanding about the true nature of life. Ignorance is the underlying cause that causes sentient beings to accumulate karmic force and be bound in the cycle of rebirth. When wisdom is developed, ignorance will be eliminated, and the mind will become clear, no longer obscured by temporary phenomena. At this point, Alaya consciousness becomes completely pure, no longer containing any karmic imprints, and sentient beings attain perfect liberation. The transformation and liberation of Alaya consciousness are not two separate processes, rather, they are two stages of the same path of practice. Transformation is the first step. where sentient beings learn to recognize and change the karmic seeds in Alaya consciousness, making it cleaner. When this transformation reaches its peak, that is, when all the unwholesome karmic seeds and afflictions have been completely eliminated, sentient beings will attain liberation. This is the ultimate destination of the path of practice in Buddhism, where there is no longer the bondage of karmic force and the cycle of rebirth, and the mind attains absolute freedom. On this journey, practitioners need the support of both wisdom and loving kindness. Wisdom helps recognize the true nature of Alaya consciousness and how to transform it, while loving kindness helps nourish the wholesome seeds and eliminate the afflictions. These two factors cannot be separated because only with sufficient wisdom and loving kindness can sentient beings fully walk the path from transformation to liberation.